Hello and welcome to another episode of Soul Nectar Show, that show that talks about all things essence, where we gather around the campfire and share stories of our own connection with the divine, of our connection with that which is bigger than us, of our understanding of what this whole thing called life is all about. And we get to share those stories together because it's so enlightening and fun and inspirational. And I love to do that. And I'm your host, Carrie Hummingbird. I am a soul guide and I love to help people take those first initial steps over the threshold into that magical, mystical journey of synchronicity when you start to open to the divine and you start to open to that journey that you came here to take, that you felt deep within your soul, deep within the center of your being. And maybe you've been resisting it a little bit. And so these shows are here to give you encouragement that although you might feel a little bit of fear, taking that step off into the next level of your journey, actually, it's delightful at the other side. And it's like always delightful at the other side. There's never any exception. It's not like it's delightful only for Carrie Hummingbird. No, it's delightful. It's a few difficult moments, getting over into the other side of the platform, the other part of the landing, but then it's pretty great. So, and I love to bring people on the show to back up what I'm saying because I like to be validated. And so here today, I'm bringing in my friend, Keith Leon. Welcome, Keith.
Keith Leon S. Thank you so much.
S. What's the
Yeah,
S stand for?
yeah, isn't that cool? It's a numerology thing. So I was born Keith Leon Smith, but I dropped Smith like a million years ago. And but when I worked with the top numerologist, he said that when I dropped the S, it took me to from powerful leader to powerful compassionate leader to just compassionate. So he said, Keith Leon is compassion. Keith Leon S is compassionate leader.
Well, let's
So
keep that S in there. That's
yeah,
awesome.
exactly. So I was like, okay, and so I added the S in, and it seems like more people started working with us, and things just kind of exploded. When I added the S back in.
That's awesome. Well, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit more about Keith because as you can tell, he's definitely awake and listening and paying attention to all these information points. He's actually a multiple international best-selling author. He's also a book publisher and a speaker who's well known as the book guy. His life purpose book called Walking with My Angels, A True Story, has a foreword by the Chicken Soup for the Soul's Jack Canfield. And it's going to release on August 20th of this year. So that's going to be coming up. Y'all need to get on the pre-order list for that. Keith has appeared on many popular radio and television broadcasts, and his work has been covered by Inc. magazine, LA Weekly, The Huffington Post, Publish magazine, and Succeed magazine, just to name a few. And he's spoken at events that included Jack Canfield, Bob Proctor, Neil Donald Walsh, Barbara DeAngelis, John Gray, Michael Beckwith, and Marianne Williamson, just to name a few. And he's also a member of the Evolutionary Business Council. As you know, Carrie Hummingbird is as well, because all the coolest people who are messengers are part of the Evolutionary Business Council. People, get with it. Keith's passion is teaching people how to go from first thought to bestseller and to create what he calls the world's greatest business card. And he also loves introducing people to their heavenly helpers. Yes, we're going to talk about angels. So let's talk about it. Okay, I want to know, I have so many questions, but let's start with your story because I always start with the story because the story is fun. When's the first moment that you woke up to this gift that you were supposed to bring to the world?
Wow. Well, when my parents divorced when I was 2, so I didn't have a father growing up. And so as early as I can remember, really remember, like having conversations for me would be about 5. And I could hear this voice at that age. And this voice was advising me and ultimately kept me out of harm's way many, many times. So all that to say, I could hear my guardian angel's voice since I was a child. And this guardian angel filled in a lot for missing parts that I had. My mom was manic depressive. She barely even got out of the bed. So I needed guidance. And so where people that were my mother's friends thought I had an imaginary friend, it was only a while before my mom started to hear what the angel was telling me putting words on those things and then them happening, that she would sometimes say, well, what does your angel think? And then,
Started consulting with you.
right, she started kind of realizing that it wasn't just something I was making up. And so yeah, from childhood, and this angel saved my life, kept me from being molested as a child at the church around the corner, like told me what to say to get out of that situation, and really was an advisor and a friend for so many years. And then my mom met this man when I was 8 years old. And this guy was closest to Jesus of anybody I've ever met. And I literally could see the light around his head. I could see his halo. And they had a quick courtship and got married within 3 months. And again, I'm 8 years old. So 5 days after the wedding, he was killed. And my mom, who's already manic depressive, just goes into a tailspin. I mean, dark, deep depression. And she looked at me when I was 8 and said, I need you to be the man of the house. And I took that on, at 8 years old. And so I stopped being a child and I started being a man, and I got to be the man of the house. And the more that I took that role on and stopped being a child, the quieter that voice got. And I just forgot about my angel, and essentially went away because I threw the walls up. And so flash forward into my early 20s, now I'm living in Fresno, California. I'm in this like deep, dark drug phase and doing crystal meth and drugs and drinking and just whatever I could get my hands on. And I met this man at a bar that I was bartending, and he was kind of quiet and mysterious, and he didn't speak very often, but when he did speak, everybody was listening. He was that kind of guy. So I asked him if he wanted to hang out after work, and he said, yeah. And so we hung out. And is this okay to just go this deep?
Oh, please do. Yeah,
Right.
as deep as you want, Keith. As deep as you want.
We're hanging out after work, and we're starting to get to know each other. And he's asking me like, hey, what do you believe in? Do you believe in psychics? Charlatans. Do you believe in this? What do you believe in that? And he realizes, oh, he's got work to do. So eventually he says, do you trust me? And I said, yeah. So he asked me to let him hold this ring that I had on, which was the ring that my stepfather, who had died, it was their wedding ring when he married my mother. And so I had that on. So my energy and his energy were in that ring, and that's it. So I let him hold the ring, and he did what's called a life review. And so he was telling me everything from the time I was born, and then my parents splitting, and just everything in detail, up to one point where he said, oh, God. And he handed me the ring back and said, I could have went my whole life without seeing that. Obviously, he saw when my stepfather was killed with the ring on. So everything he had told me, there was no Google back then, right? So there was no way that he could know these things that he told me. And so that brought some of the walls down, and I started to believe some. And then he just kind of kept throwing out like world events, things that were going to happen, what my next day was going to look like. And everything he said came true to 100% accuracy. And so at one point he said, do you trust me? And I said, yes. And he said, I think it's time to tell you why I'm here. And so he said, I am an earthbound angel. And, people call earthbound angel people that do good deeds and help people. But what an earthbound angel really is we are angels that are in the flesh, and we are assigned to certain people. And then we have to go befriend those people and get to know them well enough that we can finally tell them why we're here. And that is to save them from themselves, to keep them from expiring, leaving the earth, this planet, before they're supposed to. And so in many ways we have to intervene. Sometimes we have to save their life, which at some point I will save yours, because you're here to do big things. And if you expire before your date, it will have a not so great effect on the planet because of what you're here to do. So at some point I will save you. And then once I do that, then you have to let me go, because I've got to move on to the next person, because that's what I do. And and so he did. He spent well over a year, probably about a year and a half, taking me from believing in nothing to believing in everything. And ultimately, toward the end, facilitated an out of body experience where I floated out and down by this fire, and there were all these avatars and beings of light and ancestors and some people you would know around this fire, and they all told me what my purpose was and why I'm on this earth, what I'm here to do. And so when I came back into my body, I could only remember the first thing, what one of them told me, and I was like, why can't I remember what they told me? My angel said, well, if you remembered everything they told you right now, it would just blow your mind. Like you would be in a straitjacket. You couldn't even handle what they told you. But what you do remember is your first step. And so as you go through your life, you'll remember what that one said. And then you'll remember what that one said. And you'll remember what that one said. And when those come to you, know that that is your next step in your journey. So ever since then, I've been living into my life purpose and receiving those next steps. And ultimately, the book, which is coming out August 20th, is the big piece at the end of that, right? It is. I was told back then I would. Over 30 years ago, I would write a book called Walking with My Angels, a true story by Keith Leon, and it would be my life story with all of my angel stories in it, and that it would raise the vibration of the planet because the work that I would have done up until that point will make it so that when the book goes out, the world will hear about it. So that's why I've been writing books and publisher and all the people that I've connected with and learned how to be in the media and all of that so that it would go out. But what they told me was interesting. They said that anybody that held this book in their hands, not read it, held this book in their hands, that they would raise to their next level of vibration. And so if somebody is closed, completely closed, and they hold the book, that they will open. And if they're already this open and they hold the book, they'll be this open. And what I think is interesting is if somebody is already a third eye, right? Already believing, already, tapped in and meditating and doing the work, then who knows what's available, because what their next level is going to be fantastic. And I can't wait to hear all these stories when the book comes out, and I hope that people will share what happened for them with me, so that I can, finally get to hear what happened. So.
Wow. I love all of that. How awesome. So, all right, I got so many different pathways I can navigate down, and I'm asking the guys which one. Yes. So, are you in touch with your, like, is your connection with your angels now restored? Like, do you now hear that voice again, or does it take a little effort to get through the ego crust?
Yes, and in so many ways. In so many ways, I'm led, guided, and inspired by my angels. And so sometimes it's a voice, sometimes it's just an inner knowing. And that's why when I'm sharing with people, I say I call them angels. You can call it inner guidance, inner GPS, inner knowing. You can call it spirit, God, the universe, whatever. It doesn't care what you call it as long as you call it. And so, so I get promptings. I know that anytime that I just know what to do, and it's not a thought process, it's just a knowing of what to do next, that's angel inspired. Sometimes I literally hear a voice, but I don't always need to, so they don't always have to do that. It's like I share with people at the very beginning, if you need to see an angel, like you need them to show up for you, that's okay, but only do that once, because it takes a lot of energy for them to muster up, showing up in a form where you can see them. So after that, maybe just ask to hear them. And then after you're really dialed into that and can hear the voice, then maybe open up to all the other ways that they can support you, and showing up through other people and showing up through just inner guidance. All of that is angel inspired.
I had this awareness, I have so many directions to go with this broadcast. Okay. I had this awareness that, that there's other books that also have energetic constructs that come through the book you know, and as you look at the book, there's sort of like multi-dimensional information being conveyed by the book.
Yeah.
So there's an ancient text where that's true. Okay. But the interesting thing is, I've done some work through a conscious channel called Paul Selig. I don't know if you're aware of that, but I've actually listened to all of those books, which are sort of like a reinstantiation or a more pure download of the original energies and the original intent and the original teachings that are now available on the planet through these ascended masters who are here to teach the Christ consciousness,
Right.
through a vehicle that has not been impurified by thousands of years of self agendas.
Yeah.
Let's say man-made agendas. Let's say that. So I feel like some of these texts have been a little corrupted, and over time, as human ego wanted to sort of take or claim it or explain it, or it's a sticky process. I know from my own journey as I channel information, like even now I'm sort of channeling some information. I have to get through my ego crust. I have to get through my ego's attachment to knowing things, you know, like, and then get that out of the way so that the actual knowing comes through.
Mm.
And I know that you're aware of this because I know you have a process to help people do this for
Mm.
your book publishing arm. So
Right.
that I didn't realize we were going there, but we're going there. So talk a little bit about what you discovered, without revealing anything proprietary, but like talk about like, what did you discover about that? Because I know that you know about that. How do you keep it pure and clear, you know, as you're channeling through your being is, I guess, my question.
Yeah. In the book world, or just with our process, or just
Yeah,
every day?
your book and your process that you learned, like how
Yeah.
to get that pure message out.
Yeah, well, we were doing, I was helping people to write books, and then we were doing traditional ghostwriting, which I shared with you, we now call the hard way. And that's bringing together random thoughts and things that people have written and making sense out of all of it and putting it into a book. And, and my wife and I were like, how can we be of service to these people, but how can we make it simple and divinely led? Like, how can we be of service to the people that need it the most and give them this service where literally all they would have to do is show up and talk about what they already know, and we'd be able to capture that. So we just kept asking Spirit, like meditating and praying on that one question: how can we be of service, make it easy and affordable? And so we kept kind of downloading ideas and writing them all on this one sheet, and eventually we looked at that one sheet and said, if this works, like, we just reinvented the wheel. And so we created this thing called the You Speak It book process, where all you have to do is show up to 7 phone calls, and in those 7 phone calls we get everything we need to create a book for you that you'll be proud to call your own, and we'll have your voice, we'll have your energy and your heart still in it when it comes out on the other side. And so like you said, without giving away the process, at the beginning of each of those calls we have a process that brings the author to the perfect place and space to deliver the great content. I can say, in this group, I can say, so that you'll channel through, right? And
Yeah.
tap into source and tap into the part of you that knows everything and the answer to every question before you even asked it, right? To tap into that to deliver the content. Can't say that if I'm at a doctor's convention.
No,
You know?
they don't
So,
understand. They're still trapped in their crust. So,
right.
but you had to find this process for yourself too, because you're
Yeah.
a messenger.
Yeah. One of the places, like in my business, where I really found that process was with the book that really put me on the map was my second book, Who Do You Think You Are? Discover the Purpose of Your Life. And before that, my wife and I were in business together, and I was the business guy, but I love a good, strong, powerful woman.
Oh
And,
yeah, who doesn't?
and, and all those good, strong, powerful women in my past had kind of rolled over me, and I allowed it because they were really strong and really powerful, and they controlled me because they were my grandmother and my mother and my sister who raised me. So now I'm in this relationship, and I kind of am deferring to my wife in business, but I'm the one with the business experience. And her way was a way of a bit of overthinking, and she'll admit this, a lot of overthinking, and it just didn't really work. So our first book, We had John Gray's endorsement. Didn't really do a lot for us. Uh, I was asking people of influence to support us, and they were saying no because I was coming from a place of need. Like I need them to make this project great. So I was needy. If you're in a relationship and somebody's needy, what do you want to do? You want to get away from them. So they wanted to get away from me. Uh, so after we had a seeming business failure, 2 in a row, matter of fact, my wife said she needed some time to recover, and she realized, she said that she had put out my light, she had squashed my light, and that we had agreed that that wouldn't happen when we got together in a relationship, and it was happening. So she said, I just want to take some time to recover. I'll be over here. Would you run the business? I'm like, are you messing with me right now? Yeah, I would love to do that. Yeah. What? So now I'm running the business. And so I asked myself, how would I do it? That's different than the way we did it. Now that it's me, how will I do it? And so what I did to create this book, which ended up being a huge international bestseller, on the front page of Amazon back when they used to do that, it was like New York Times, like, so it was like right underneath Eckhart Tolle's book,
Oh,
number
freaking
one, it was
awesome.
right here. Of all the books in the world, it was right there underneath Eckhart Tolle's book, because 2 weeks before, Oprah held up Eckhart Tolle's book and made the topic of my book the topic of the world. So how would I do it? So what I did was I had my to-do list, my agenda, what I thought I should do, and I wrote that at night. And then every day I would get up and I would put it aside. And then I would close my eyes and I would go within and I would say, Spirit, God, what am I to do next? Or whatever question I had, who should I contact next? Who should do the forward? Whatever question I had, I would ask the question, and then I would sit in the silence until I got the answer. And one time that was days that I didn't move other than to go to the bathroom or eat. I just waited for the answer. And then eventually I would hear the answer, act on the divinely inspired, take a divinely inspired action on what I had heard. And everything just, yes, was the answer from everybody, right? So I asked 80 really famous people to be in that book. I got 68 yeses. Of the 12 no's, 10 were the publicist, not actually the person. The person wanted to do it. So out of 80 asks, I got 78 yeses, essentially, and then 2 no's, and those 2 no's were because that the people that I asked didn't want to be vulnerable. They didn't want to share answers to the questions that I was asking them in the public. So that's amazing.
That's the power of being divinely inspired and connected.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted you to get to that place. Because really, your story has been about showing up, knowing, like showing up, having that direct link and that knowing and listening and hearing the angels and your inner guidance,
Yeah.
and losing it for a while and being a regular human and seeing how off the rails you can go when you don't have that. You really screw up your life.
I really did.
Man, you can just like tear it all up.
Yeah, you can be this close to death. I literally have an angel come and put you in front of a mirror and say, you have 2 weeks to live or die, it's your choice. And either way, I'm not going to stand here and watch it and leave you standing there. That's what it came to. That's how he saved my life. That's in the book. Yeah, it can get pretty dark when not taking the time to go within, when not listening, when not seeing the proof that is all around us all the time.
So now, Keith, are you the only person that has angel guidance?
No.
Well, are you the only person with an angel assigned to you?
No. We
Just
all have
checking.
at least one guardian angel, and their job, they have two jobs.
I put mine through the ringer.
Yeah, they only have 2 jobs: love you unconditionally and help you get to your predetermined expiration date. And that's what they're here to do, right? And anything above that, you must ask. You got that free will thing, right? So they're like, can't really mess with them unless they ask. But if they
And it's
ask,
nuanced.
then
The
yeah,
asking, I mean, like the resistance you feel inside of you can block it. Like
yeah,
it, like that's how nuanced it is. I realized at one point I had this journey, uh, and it was on some plant medicine, but I was off in the, because that's how, honestly, I think that sometimes we need help in order to break through the human crust because it's so freaking like determined to block access to important information that would help your soul take control over your life, or lead your life, because it's never going to take control over it, but like lead your life. And
Mm.
so sometimes it's helpful to employ with some kind of intention to understand more about the divine within you and around you. With that intention, it's very powerful, and it's really the only intention I would ever go into it with. But I had this vision where I was in this huge canyon, and I was looking down over the canyon, like in the Four Corners area of the United States, and I'm
Mhm.
looking down out over, and I can see all. It's almost like wheels turning and spinning and everything collaborating and working together out there. Like everything's turning and spinning and working together. And it's all this part of this huge orchestration of like the bazillions, I mean, infinite number of little components that are all harmoniously interacting to create this human vision and experience and playground for you. And it will all stop moving in your perception the minute you go into self-judgment, blame, shame, guilt, da 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 da, da, and going into, and then you're in your thought tunnels. And the moment you're in the thought tunnels, you totally miss the whole orchestration that's happening all around you.
Yeah.
But when you choose to let it back in, it lights back up and starts going again. It was really profound how it was. I was getting an experience to show me that that's happening all the time.
Yeah.
When you shut down and you go into your egoic self and you allow it to lead, then all the magic it stops around you. They just like, until you're ready to go, okay, play with me again. Okay, I invited in. Okay, I say yes. I say yes, I want help. I say yes, I want to know. I say yes, I want to play. Okay, send me a sign. Okay, I'm here. I'm showing up. I'm open. And when
Yeah.
you're open, the whole majesty starts over again. You get those synchronistic connections again, and the realizations and the insights, and you hear and you see, and it's fun. So who doesn't want that?
That's right.
I mean, who would deprive yourself of that? It's fun. Talk about that a little bit.
Tear down the walls.
Tear down the
Mm.
wall. Yeah, what was that
Well,
process like for you to tear down the wall?
the way I love to say it so that people that maybe necessarily aren't in this group can understand it is, taking it from the head to the heart, right? So in our book process, that's even part of the language. We say, now we're going to take you from your thinking mind to your knowing mind. And when I say thinking mind, my hand is on my head. When I say knowing mind, my hand is on my heart. Uh, and so it's just pulling down into the heart. Or another way to say it would be breaking down the walls, tearing down the walls. I like to visualize them as walls, because that's the only thing that's strong enough to keep me out of something is a wall. Otherwise, I'm going to break through it, right? Without a sledgehammer. So I just see like, oh, okay. So what wall is in front of me? What wall is there? It's the wall of judgment. How can I step out of
That's a
judgment
big wall.
of myself? How am I judging myself right now? Oh, okay. I forgive myself for judging myself as whatever is going on. I forgive myself for judging myself as that thought, as that thing. And the more I say that, I forgive myself for judging myself as that, then the walls start to come down. And then eventually I'm standing there going, yay, no walls. Now I can move into the one thing that I needed an answer
Yeah, I can finally get the damn answer. It's right there on the other side of my wall in my crust. I like to call it the crust. I figure when
Yeah,
I say that word, people know what that means. Isn't that funny?
yeah,
It's like it's the crust of your human existence over your divine spark that
yeah,
we
yeah,
need some crust, right? Like we need, because we are in a body, we need a name. I need to be able to call you something
yeah.
to
And,
know that I'm talking to you.
and right now I'm in a process that's kind of like when I did Who Do You Think You Are? Like I'm learning the process of getting sponsors. I have this
Oh,
year
that,
this
yeah.
year long tour coming up when the book came out, and I was like, oh, I'll just pay for that. And someone we both know was like, no, 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 you can get sponsors
Charmaine.
for that, get an angel investor for the other pieces. Never use your own money. No, no, no. So I'm learning the sponsorship piece and how to ask for support there, and then creating a pitch deck for angel investors, right? And all that is new. So, and all of it's big. I mean, it's like I'm learning. It's like going back to school and learning a whole new art to learn how to get sponsors, corporate sponsors, and get investors. So I'm in this new school, and it would be really easy to get into ego, get into freak out, get into this feels like too much. So what I did was I put on my headset and I did an evocation for me to listen to every morning. And so it's an evocation, and then it ends with what I call prayer treatment, which is me, saying the truth about what I know about God, and the way that God shows up for me every day. And so I put together this like powerfully inspiring piece that will help me every day pull right to the place where I can be, and just skip all the sitting down and getting into working to get there. I put music underneath it, and I just throw that in every morning, boom, and it's like, good morning, angels. And it just says everything that I need to hear to pull down any fear, pull down any ego, pull down anything that would get in the way, and just put me in the place where I'm just like, yes, 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 at the end of that 2 minutes. And so there's tools that you can create for yourself to save you time.
You know what? I love that you just answered my next question, because I was going to ask you, okay, that's so great. Oh my God, that's so perfect. We're so in flow right now. This is awesome. I love when that happens,
Yeah.
because I already know what we're going to talk about. So it's all we have to do is follow along.
Yeah.
So when I say they, I mean the angel guides.
Yeah.
So I love, one of the things that's come through for me this year, and I know that you've been on this journey because you're releasing this book, right? You're releasing this book is basically like, I know this book is going to change the world.
Right.
I know because I know.
Yes.
So there's stuff that we know that in the third dimensional current reality, in the current conscious framework of global consciousness for humanity, they were like, that's crazy. How do that's totally out of our understanding of the world. Because, the ego's been in charge for quite a while on this planet with free will.
Mm.
And so I encounter that resistance within myself, but I also encounter it out there in the world. And on the journey, like you said, I love your initial vision that you had and the insights you got. You couldn't remember what they all were, but that you knew you were going to get them back again, over time as you were ready for them. And so that's my experience. I have gotten the insights over time as I was ready for them about who I am in truth.
Mm-hmm.
And so so same as you, I've got a mission, right? Like I've got a big mission, and a lot of people have told me to help me along in the validation of it so I could know it and for myself that I wasn't just crazy over here. I need to go to some kind of asylum.
Mm-hmm.
Because of our culturalization, you start thinking, well, shit, maybe I do. Maybe I am crazy, but it feels so good. So if I'm crazy, okay. Like that's because I love it. I feel great and I'm okay with that. That's finally where
Right.
I came. But knowing the big purpose, like I know that I'm here to lead the second wave. Well, that feels freaking huge as it's coming through. But I didn't know that a year ago. I knew something like it, but I didn't have the words. I didn't have the words until like recently. And
Mm-hmm.
now that I know the words, I know it. Like it's like even more knowing. It's like, oh, that's right. I forgot. That's right. I am here to do that. That's
Yeah.
the thing. That's the thing I'm here to do. So how about you? You knew for a long time that you were going to write this book,
Yeah.
and they gave you this insight, but then along the way, it's like all this stuff is like, God, really? Am I full of is this my ego? Is this, what is this? How did you navigate that? I mean, I know you just gave us a tool for getting clear, but like, is there anything else you want to share with us about that process that you've gone through? Right? It's a big process.
For me, anytime that I'm doubting or not believing or judging, it's not of the light. It's ego. It's going to take me away from where I need to be. So
So you
only
just full on out, like you're just streaking
if
through life.
I'm feeling divinely inspired, I'm feeling like I know what to do next, I know I'm on course. So for me, it's on course, off course. A good friend of mine and mentor, Jack Canfield, he taught me, years ago, I asked him, I said, do you ever have a bad day? And he said, bad day, no. Bad hour, no. Bad few minutes, yes. Right? because he has the tools to pull him out of that. So I said, so what's your flag then? How do you know when you're in it to pull you out of it so that you can turn it around in a few minutes? So he said, well, I identified a long time ago that anytime that something is not feeling good to me, my stomach tightens. It gets tight. And so the second I feel my stomach tighten, unless I'm doing a crunch, right, or doing it on purpose, if it tightens, then I know, okay, this is, right, go to the tool. So if someone says something and it triggers them, and they get, stomach gets tight. Okay, then he moves into the piece that would help him to get out of that feeling that he was in that created that. And so that just had me look at, well, what are my triggers then? What tells me when I'm off course? And so when I'm off course, I know that it's not divinely inspired. It's not in the light. It's not what I need to be doing. And then when I'm in the flow and I'm asking what next, and then just knowing what to do next, then I know I'm on course.
Yeah.
And like the tool that I made, right? That was just so that I didn't ever have to have a morning where I felt like, if I wake up feeling a little out of sorts and I don't have to work so hard to get there. I just pop it in. Hey, good morning, angels. And it like tells me exactly what I need to hear to get right back in it. And so that's why I created that. In the book, there's an evocation tool that I put at the end.
Oh, cool.
So I didn't do like, there's a lot of books that are like all tools and all of that. This is my life story. This is my, people are going to receive through the story because of the energy, like you said, they're already going to get what they need. And at the end, it's just like this book really, the people who love angels are going to get it anyway. So this book is for the people who normally would never read a book like that. And so at the end, then I say, so hopefully at this point now you've opened some, right? And if you're feeling like you would like to invite, here's an evocation to do that. And then I give an evocation at the end. So that was another thing that I was told is, because I'm a businessman and a father and a husband.
You're every guy. You're every Joe. You're like every like Teresa Grobois says in the Evolutionary Business Count. It's like the everyday Joes. It's like regular people that are out there making an impact in the world. And when you're that, people can relate to you. I was going to say that actually. It's so funny how in tune we are. Is that you are that guy that people can trust? Because who can you trust? It's not going to look like a savior. I want to just put that in here.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to look like Jesus walking the earth and like solving all your problems for you. And you just like bow down at the feet of Jesus. That is not what we're doing here right now. Talk a little bit about that.
And purposely.
On purpose. Yeah. Because
like
you're an ancient, everybody here is ancient souls. Like, wake up. Go ahead.
And we're all angels. We're all angels, just, sometimes our wings aren't out. But so the last event that I spoke at, I decided, like, they asked me there as the book guy. And, but then the woman who was having the event said, well, somebody told me to have you tell your angel story. So once I told her some of that, because the whole thing, it would take a long time, But after I told her some of that, she was like, oh, would you put some of that in your talk? So this is now the first time at an event as the book guy that I'm coming out as the angel guy, right? Out of the angel closet in front of a big room. And so I did that, and it totally worked. And I realized a few things. One, when I show up as the book guy, people, they want to receive from me, right? So they're drawing energy and or sucking me dry of the energy that I have, unless I protect myself, because they want. When I brought the angel piece in, people actually went, did what I suggested they do that night, had an experience, and then came back and told me. So they were filling me. They were giving me. It was the opposite of the Empire experience. It was the filling me up so much that I was like pumped up at the end of the night, and I had to watch TV to take my brain away just to sleep because I was so wound up. Like, this is awesome. It was the complete opposite piece. But I really became aware that what you're talking about, that I'm not here to be a guru, and I'm not ever going to present it that way, because my message is that you are the light, that you have everything and you already know the answers before you ask them, that you, and ultimately that's Jesus' whole message was that. And I think people miss it.
It
You know,
got
it's
distorted.
over and over again. It happens as you believe. If you believed what I believed, you could do what I do. Oh, I'm not the one healing you. It's not me. It's your belief in me that is
Well, it
healing.
was his connection to all that is that helped him to do that, because all he was not all he was doing, but he was flowing that energy through him to the people around him and reminding them of it
Right. And their
within
belief,
themselves.
their
Like they
belief in him created the
and
miracle.
their faith in him created the miracle. So yeah, it's so interesting. We can go
Yes.
on about that.
I'm giving tips and tools and things that will help them, but ultimately, in my events, we'll be doing work that will help with the kind of things you were talking about, to help people to be able to identify what I call the little liar voice. You know, that voice that
The
says,
liar voice. Yeah, the
the
one that
little
creates
liar,
fear.
the one that says you can't do it, you're not good enough, all of that. And of course, that's society, parents, teachers, voices. Uh, but I call it the little liar voice because it never tells you the truth. It only tells you lies. So I have a tool that helps you see, identify, and know when that voice is there, and then a tool to dissolve it. Forgiveness exercises. You know, I have one that just there's never a dry eye in the house. That on the other side of that process, you will have like taken the person you need to forgive the most, and done that. You know, so that it's going to be tips and tools and processes and music and
Skills.
stories and like no event that you've ever been to, because it'll have all of that in one. Instead of just trying to be one thing, it's going to be, you know, everything. And even then I'll take the plan of what it could be or I thought it was going to be and throw it away and check in with what's present in the room. You know, who's in the room, what do they need right now, you know, and tap into that. And then I'll have all that other stuff as a go-to for when I've done the real work and processed with people that needed it in the moment. So
Wow. Very cool. Very cool. I love the fact that you're teaching tools and skills and processes for self-empowerment.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
exactly the messages I've gotten to. Is why I started the Skills Not Pills movement. It was for that reason. Just,
yeah. I think
not to shame pills. It's not about that. It's just about like, hey, you're in charge of your own destiny. Like,
well, people say, you know, when
like,
we're born and we've forgotten who we are, right?
yeah, earth amnesia.
This late is, yeah, Earth amnesia. Okay, so if that's true, why? For me, I asked that question as a child. For me, why? What's underneath that? Oh, because I'm here to remember who I am. That's my job. Remember who I am. And then when I heard about this master teacher Jesus, he was like, love unconditionally, agape love, you know, like love unconditionally. So those are my two things. Remember why I'm here, live into that purpose, love unconditionally. That's my two jobs.
And
And
be humble enough to ask for help. Like, be humble enough to open for guidance and to follow. You know that.
yeah,
So as a leader, you've got to know how to follow.
yeah, and that's why it was what was strange for me about religion. And I'm a recovering Mormon, so my family is all Mormons, and that's what I grew up in. And I never really jived with that, and because I was kind of born already knowing everything that they were teaching. So everything they were saying, that was like no duh to me, you know, like and then when I started hearing like certain spiritual teachers come out and everybody was like, oh, so blown away. And I was like, well, yeah, you know,
It's
and so,
obvious.
yeah, I was born knowing this stuff, and then all the guardian angel experience from childhood, you know, like all the answers I got from there. It just I didn't feel like I needed to go somewhere and sing a bunch of songs and be told that I was wrong in order to tap into it, because I was already tapped in, tuned in. You know? So
Yeah, it was only during your human part of your journey that you realized, oh, that's why people find that helpful. Because when you
yeah,
cut it off, it sure is
yeah,
painful.
yeah. Now I'm like, hey, if it
If it
gets
works, hey, if it's a door, just walk through it then. You know, if that's your door, then walk through the door, whatever door you need to walk through. That's why there's so many doors, Keith. That's
yeah,
another really important message that I hope this brings out into the world, is that there's so many paradigms that, lenses, windows into the house, and whatever window house you're going into the house, you're fine. Just go into the house. That's it.
yeah. And I like to say there's no right or wrong, only different.
Different. Yeah,
No,
and totally complementary, to some degree. When you go to the pure essence of the teachings in any tradition will be the same.
just like people,
Yeah, the
we're
pure
more
essence. Yeah,
we're more alike than we are different, and
true.
that's not what the media wants to tell us because they're selling us fear and products because we're in fear, and they love to do that. Really good at it, but we're more alike than we are different in that we all want the same thing, to love and be loved, and that's what we want.
And I
Every
think it's important to realize like that conditioning is so present in our, and that is part of our, like the news, for example, illustrates it, and our, the movies and the content of the movies out there in the theaters, and the content of the entertainment in general. You can look and see what the human collective consciousness agreements are on the planet about what life is, and what to expect. And so if you're here and you're a person that's like, well, I feel like I have a great purpose, and I feel like I'm here to bring a change, and I feel like I know something different than this information, and I feel like something's out of balance, or and then you have those insights that bring you that pure joy.
yeah,
Dude, that's the thing. Like, raise up out of the crust and the thinking that is out of alignment and not correct.
yeah,
Yeah, you have to be fearlessly a leader in that. And yeah, other people that are stuck in the crust and in the paradigm are going to go, "You're crazy. What are you doing? You're such a Pollyanna." Da, da, da. They're going to whatever they're going to say. That's
yeah,
fine. You follow the joy, and that's going to expand, because if you're hearing this broadcast, you're resonating with all this. You're probably part of the shift on the earth.
yeah. We call the news the olds because there's nothing new going on there. It's just the
The
same.
olds. Yeah, it's the same story.
So we
It's
don't
the
watch.
history. It's
We
the
don't
human
watch that.
history drama.
We don't watch it for one thing, um, and I haven't watched it for a long time because I was actually in TV for
Oh,
7.5 years, and I had to sign off, like sign that I wouldn't uh, leak that I knew there were stories that were purely fabricated that were on the news that night when I went home and was watching the news, and I would just shake my head watching that story,
gut wrenching. That's awful.
the BS. And I know that 10%, and I think that's giving 10% of what you hear on the news has any truth to it whatsoever. Uh,
It creates a cult of fear to keep people in place. That's
yeah,
part of the prison.
yeah,
If you get so busy, keep people so busy they don't have time to get quiet and have the space for their higher self, or their guide or guardian angel, or whatever you want to call it, to speak in their ear and tell them the truth. That is how you keep people enslaved
mm-hmm.
while they
Yeah,
think they're free.
yes, yes, yes,
Yeah, it's the ultimate lie.
yeah,
And we're here to expose it, Keith.
yes.
Woo! We're here to expose it and just rip the veil back and go, wake up to your divine selves, and you're actually more free than you think you are when you stop believing
Yeah,
the human drama. So,
yeah.
tell us where do people go to get a copy of this book? And when, I know the August 20th is the release date, but I also, if I know you, you've
Yeah.
got a pre-order and you probably got some goodies or something. So tell me what that looks like.
Yeah, I'm setting all that up now while I'm doing all these other things. Setting
You're
up
going to have one.
a,
We'll put it in the show notes. Yeah.
yeah, it'll be there. And so I'm setting up an Indiegogo page for pre-sale, and you will have a chance to sponsor this tour and be part of it and be one of the sponsors.
Yay!
You can either get the book at the least upfront investment and get just the book, and then there'll be different packages based on how much support that you want to be and how much of a sponsor you want to be. And with those packages comes more and more cool stuff. Even like the top packages, like executive producer credits in the documentary film that I'm going to be making, mentioned in the book, on the signage at the event, on the website, and mentioned wherever humanly possible. So it just goes from there to there. There's just like more and more cool stuff.
That
Um,
rocks.
yeah. So it's you just kind of tune in and say, what can I do, and how big of a support do I want to be to this project, and we got that level for you.
Wonderful. Well, I love it. So I think that wraps up all that. I'm just listening to the guides, but I think all of my little questions I had are answered now, and it feels complete. I think we're good. Okay, I just had to do a little check-in because just like you, I always check with my guides.
Yeah.
And well, so now at this point, what I'd like to do is I like to invite everybody to wherever you see this broadcast, leave us a comment. Tell us what piece of information really brought you like an aha or a light bulb, or like, oh, that's a new way of looking at it. I'm going to keep that. Like, share that with us. We want to know, like, how were you impacted? What did you learn? What inspired you? And if you have a question, ask the question, because I have direct contact with this wonderful being Keith here, and we can always get the question answered. It's no problem. Ask
Yeah.
us a question, and like and review. Give us a like and review, because the more people that see this broadcast, the more people will find out about this book. This
Yeah.
book, and also Soul Nectar Show, and the more people that will, get awakened to, hey, get out of this mental slavery, this
Yeah.
emancipate yourselves from mental slavery, people. Like, you're a divine being in a body. You're here on the earth. We can play and co-create rather than be enslaved, right, Keith?
Yeah. And we work with a lot of, spiritually enlightened light workers, cutting edge doctors, really, really cool people. So if you go to Leon Smith Publishing, that it shows like the books that we published, and any one of those pictures of the cover of the book, if you click it, then it takes you to Amazon and you can read and see if that book feels like a match for you. But so you can just kind of tune into, ooh, which book should I read next? And it'll pop out at you. Click it. So there's just some incredible books on there, including the one that changed my whole world, called Who Do You Think You Are? Discover the Purpose of Your Life. So if you're looking for life purpose, that is a great book where you'll be mentored by 64 of the greatest minds I could get a hold of.
Wow,
So,
that's amazing. What a gift. What a
yeah,
great gift. That's awesome. So definitely, guys, check that out. Please look for Keith's book and get that as soon as it comes out, and then report back what
yes,
amazing, profound shift happened for you.
yes,
Report back. That's the perfect thing. Report back on this broadcast. Like, go, oh my gosh, yes, that happened for me, or this happened for me. I love sharing these stories. We're sitting around the campfire. Don't forget, we're around the campfire together. We're always around the campfire together, and we're sharing stories. Okay, I like to give people kisses, Keith. Are you ready to help me with that?
yeah.
Here they come. Okay.
All right.
Mwah.
Oh.
Woo! We'll see you guys next time on Soul Nectar Show. Thanks for joining us. Bye,
Thank you.
everybody.